Okay, Rabbi Isai, welcome back. This week, forbidden images. Is that really a thing, those guys that don't want to be in pictures? You know those people that cut off the nose of dolls? Is that some wild chumrah? Let's learn the sugya of which images you're not allowed to make, what you're not allowed to own. What's the story? What's the deal? Let's get enlightened. All right, guys. So the Torah says, Sefer Shemos, Perek Chaf, Mishnah, Pasuk Chaf. It says, Loi tasuniti Elohei chasev Elohei. You shouldn't make of me. You shouldn't make gods of gold and gods of silver. You shouldn't make me. So Rashi explains that don't make an image of anything that serves me. So don't make an image of anything that serves me. That is an Issur. It's an Issur Midaraisa. And this Issur includes making various types of things that Chazal explains serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That includes the sun, that includes the moon, that includes the stars, and it includes man. Man serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It includes all the various types of angels. It includes the whatever that being is from the Ma'aseh Merkava. All these things are included. You cannot make those images. Now there's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah Mem Gimel and in Rosh Hashanah Chaf Daled that discuss how Reb Gamliel, he used to have a room in his aliyah, his attic, that he would bring those that came for Kiddush HaChodesh, the Eidim, and he would bring them in, and he would have in this room like images of the moon, like, cut out images of the moon, and he would say, did it look like this or did it look like that? He had many different things, and this is how he would do Drisha v'Chakir. He would check out the Eidim to see if they saw the right thing and if they're legitimate, and that's how he would look into the Eidim. Now the Gemara asked, how could he do that? Surely it's a deraisa. You're not allowed to make these images. The Gemara answers, it's a long Gemara, but it comes out of the Gemara 3 different answers to how Reb Gamliel was allowed to make those images. The first answer is Rabim Shani. When you have lots of people around, it's okay. In Reb Gamliel's house, there was tons of people. He was nasi, in and out, and therefore there was always lots of people around. Or maybe somebody want to explain that since Reb Gamliel was a nasi, he had a din of the Rabim. But either way, Rabim Shani. Second answer of the Gemara is Prakim Have. See that moon that he had, it wasn't one piece, there was multiple pieces that connect together, and apparently for some reason, since it was multiple pieces that connect together, therefore it would be okay. And the third answer of the Gemara is L'Islamid of it. It was done for teaching purposes. It was done for educational purposes. It was done to figure out with these Eidim, did you get it right, did you get it wrong, and therefore it is okay. Now it's clear from the Gemara, you do not need all 3 answers. Any of the 3 will do. So either Rabim Shani, or Prakim Have, or L'Islamid of it. Now, it's a little bit hard to swallow. It's a little bit hard to understand these answers. If it's an answer to Reisa to make these images, I don't care if you have the Rabim. I don't care if it comes into pieces. And I don't care if it's there for teaching purposes. If it's also the Reisa, it's also the Reisa. So, as the Rishonim explain these answers, really, the Issur D'Oraisa is to make them. And Reb Gamliel had a guy make them. He didn't make them himself. Okay, then who needs any of the answers? Because there's the Issur D'Rabbanan to own these images. So once again, Issur D'Oraisa to make the images, Issur D'Rabbanan to own the images. Okay. So how do we get rid of the Issur D'Rabbanan of own it? And what's the reason for the Issur D'Rabbanan? So the reason for the Issur D'Rabbanan is chashad. We're choshid you. Either we're choshid that you made it and we're over this D'Oraisa, or we're choshid that you serve it and you're over the Issur D'Oraisa of Avodah Zarah, and therefore one is not allowed to own it. But for one of these 3 reasons, that would matter you to own it. Now, fine. Now, let's just try to understand to what type of images this Issur applies. So the Rambam explains that you can't make the images of a person, and then once again included in the person is the images of malachim, and the images of malachim are the images of people for lanoi, for beauty, and the Issur only applies to things that are beiletas, that stick out, or certainly are 3D, not just a picture, but something that sticks out or something that's 3D, that's an item, so to speak, that's where the Issur of making a image of a person applies. Now the Ravid says, no, the Ravid's much more machmer, and the Ravid says that even on paper, even 2D, even a 2D image, a two-dimensional image that's flat on paper will be also midaraisa for somebody to make that image. So once again, the Rambam says it has to be boletus, which means sticking out. There are shitas that even ink on top of paper is considered sticking out. We are not going to go with those shitas. We're going to be a little bit more makel than that. But there are shitas that anything above paper, even ink, is considered sticking out. But Lamaisa, we're going to consider anything that's raised sticking out. And certainly, if it's an image in its own right, it's for sure considered 3D. It's boletus, and that would be also midaraisa according to the Rambam. But if it was flat, if it was a picture, if it was flat on a paper, then according to the Rambam, there is no Issur d'oraisa. According to the Ravid, there is an Issur d'oraisa. Okay. So how do we paskin? So the Shulchan Aruch in Kuf Mem Aleph Yardea Simin Kuf Mem Aleph Sif Katan Dalad explains that it's also for a Jew to that it's also for a Jew to own a picture of a person that is boletus, that is sticking out. Now, and even if a guy made it, it's also for the Jew to own it because of chashad. So let's just point out off the bat, the Shulchan Aruch is being makel like the Rambam, that a 2D picture is okay, but a 3D image is a problem. And not only is it a problem to make it, it's even a problem to own it because of chashad. What is the chashad? The Taz explains the chashad is rechoshes that you might come to serve this 2D. Not that you might come. I want to retract that. The chashad is people are going to be choshes you that you serve it. Therefore, you can't have a image of a person because there's a chashash that people are going to think that you served it. The Shach says, no, that's not what the chashad is. Once again, we all agree that there's the Issur d'oraisa to make this 3D image of a person. And therefore, the Shach says the chashad is people are going to think that you made it. Or that you asked the guy to make it. What's wrong with asking the guy to make it? It would be an Issur of a mir la'akam. A mir la'akam was not just a Shabbos tikadin. So there would be choshesh either that you made it or you asked the guy to make it. Either way, it would be Issur. That would be the chashad. And therefore, you can't own it because people are going to think you did something wrong. That's the Taz and that's the Shach. Now, as I said, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, like the Rambam, that a flat image is okay. Only something that sticks out is a problem. The Taz, L'maisa, brings the Torah, who quotes the Ramban, that says it's Issur to make an image of a person, even if it's 2D, even if it's flat. And listen to the lashon of the Taz. The Taz says, L'inyan halacha vaday ein lahakil klal. That's a pretty powerful word for the Taz. Pretty powerful wording for the Taz. The Taz says there is no room to be make. You shouldn't be makel. There's no question about it. It's a tmua why the Shulchan Aruch was makel. And vaday ein lahakal klal. So that's pretty strong wording of the Taz. And L'maisa, in addition to the Taz, we have the Darchei Tshuva and the Darchei Tshuva and the Ben Ish Chai, who are also machmer, not to make an image of even a 2D, even a picture of a person. Now, so, how do we go? We have, according to the Shulchan Aruch, it's okay to make a picture. According to the Taz, Darchei Tshuva, Ben Ish Chai, it's a problem. And not only does the Taz say it's a problem, he's emphatic about it. Ein lahakal klal, and halacha vada ein lahakal klal. So l'maisa, we are machmer for every Taz, but we certainly are machmer for sometimes we're machmer for the Taz. What do we do over here? So let's look around and see what what do the Achronim say? What do the Poskim say? So can one take a picture? Now we'll see there happens to be there's also issues with pictures. Al pi Kabbalah, that some people say that it's not good to have your picture taken. I'm not focusing on that because I don't know so much about that. But in halacha, some say you shouldn't get your picture taken. And it's not a wild cheetah. It's the Taz. It's the Ben Ish Chai. It's the Piskei Tshuva. Okay. So, Linyan halacha, could you take a picture? So let's see what some of the greats have done. So the Piskei Tshuva quotes the Yaris Tavash, who says that you shouldn't have pictures in your house. The Chacham Tzvi, he refused to pose for a picture. He said, well, you want me to pose for a picture? No way! It's Issur! I can't pose for a picture. The Chazon Ish, he refused to pose for a picture. He wouldn't want his picture taken. He needed a passport picture. He said, okay, you have to bring it. He had them bring in a guy to take a picture of him. He wouldn't have a yid to take a picture of him. No way. He brought in a guy to take his passport picture. The Divrei Makil, he was very upset about people hanging up pictures of people in their house. You know, it's one thing if you're going to do a Aveira. You want to do a Aveira? Keep it to yourself. If you do an Aveira and take pictures and own pictures, don't hang it up. Don't advertise your Aveiras. Come on, guys, you can't do that. And to go take a picture of a Talmud Chacham and hang it up, what a bizayin of Talmidei Chacham. You're doing Aveiras with Talmidei Chachamim and you're advertising it, hanging it up in your house. This is horrible. Totally not the way that we've ever viewed it, right? It's pretty mind-boggling to hear. That's how the Divrei Makil viewed it. L'maisa, they asked Rav Moshe Feinstein if they could take a picture of him, make a picture, people will be able to hang it up in their houses. And he said, yeah. He said, listen, it's better for you to take a picture of me and have people hang up me in their house than for people to hang up sports players in their house. Now, this actually has a special place for me, this Rav Moshe, because I grew up with sports players hanging in my room. And now, Baruch Hashem, I have a picture of Rav Moshe hanging in my house. So I found that little story to be very meaningful. Okay. L'maisa, Rabbi Vadia said, we're makel to take pictures and to own pictures. And however, those that are machmer on this, there's basis to it. It's not a out-of-the-box chumrah. L'maisa, we know, and Moshe Sternbach also points out that the minhag is to be makel. L'maisa, many rebbes and certain anshe skula have always been machmer not to have their picture taken, but the general klal, the general public, has been makel, and we do allow pictures to be taken. And we do own pictures, and we do hang it up in our houses. Now, before we discuss further, there's actually two other factors that come in to be matter. It goes like this. Now, the Chachmas Adam says that nowadays, it's true, you still cannot make an image. You cannot make the image of a person the way that Issur that did apply in the past still applies today. The Issur D'Oraisa of making an image applies, and you're not allowed to do it. However, the Issur D'Rabbanan Mishum Chashad, because people are going to suspect you of doing wrong, suspect you of Avodah Zarah, that doesn't apply nowadays. Because nowadays, people do not worship men. Nowadays, by the way, 300 years ago in Lita, in Europe. Nowadays, and this is not just the Chachmas Adam, the Chacham Tzvi said the same thing. Not the Chacham Tzvi, sorry, the Netziv. The Chachmas Adam and the Netziv both said that nowadays, since people do not serve men, and people do not serve idols of men, therefore there's no chashash. And the one man that they do serve, or idol of men, that man is in a very specific image, and that is a problem. That specific image is a problem. But any other image of man is okay. I imagine when they say specific image of man, for those watching a video, with the arms outstretched, the Yashka with the arms outstretched on the cross, that's the image that would be a problem. But any other image of man would be okay. So that is what the Chachas Adam and the and the Netziv say. Now, it's Mesa, I want to point out that the Shulchan Aruch did not go with this heter. So it's a shita, which maybe can be used as a sniff leheter, but it definitely shouldn't be relied on by its own right because the Shulchan Aruch didn't work with it. Now, I want to speak at a personal theory, and this is certainly what you could certainly debate about this. So it goes like this. I was thinking that, a couple hundred years ago in Europe, the only people that lived there was a couple of Jews, and the rest were Christians. So therefore, nobody there was serving man. It's just not how it worked. However, when it came to nowadays, you got to realize there are over 1 billion avodah zarah in the world. Between the people from India, the Buddhists, and the Hindus, and the people from Africa, and the people from the Far East, there's tons of avodah zarah. Now, it used to be 300 years ago, those people weren't found in Europe. Even 60, 70 years ago, there weren't many of these people in America. But over the years, what's happened is these people have come into America. I'm not saying it's a high percentage, but these people have infiltrated into places like America, into places like England, and even a little bit into Israel, and they brought their avodah zarah views with them. So I'm not so sure it's so pashut nowadays that nobody serves avodah zarah and nobody worships man. These Buddha type chevra, I think they might be all over the place, and therefore I'm not so sure that the svara of the Chachmas Adam is as pashut as it used to be. Fine. The next heter in the Shulchan Aruch is that it's only aser if it's a tzura shlema, if it's the full body. But if it's, for example, shoulders up, that would be okay. So that is psak Shulchan Aruch. That's something we rely on. Now it happens to be the Taz quotes the Prisha, the Marshal, and the Smag, who are noite lahachmer. Once again, it's not a very emphatic. It's aser, but it's a noite lahachmer. So the Taz quotes some of the big poskim, the Marshal, the Prisha, the Smag, who are noite lahachmer. Now the Shach also brings the Smag, who's noite lahachmer, and he concludes hamachmer tavei alav bracha. So the Shach says it's mutter from not full body, but there is what to be machmer about. Now, the Piskei Tshuva brings Rabbi Yaakov Emden, who is straight up machmer, and the Ben Ish Chai and the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch are also machmer. But at the end of the day, I think the psak is that we could be mekel, but certainly for sure, if it's not a complete body, and it's, let's say, here up, then it certainly adds hamachmer tavei alav bracha. So if we go back to our question about the pictures, first of all, most of the, let's say, Gedolim pictures are not full body. Most of them are chest up. So if it's not full body, you have the additional heter, besides the heter of a 2D picture, which the Shulchan Aruch Paskin is allowed. In addition to that, you have the heter of the Shulchan Aruch itself that you're allowed from if it's not full body, even though there is a machmer tavei alav bracha. And in addition, that you want to throw in there additional heter, the Chachmas Adam, which I said is maybe not as pashut anymore, but that it still exists and still could be a sniff leheter, that nowadays people don't worship people, and therefore this Issur wouldn't apply. Fine. And there's another heter which is brought by the Shach and Taz, just to put in there, that if it's a side profile and you don't see all the eyes, and you don't see both eyes, nose, mouth, and whatever, then it can't. If you only see half the face, that would be allowed. Okay, so let's get a little bit more lamaisa. I think we're going to get to the main big sheila. The main big sheila of the sugya is, let's work our way through, actually. Let's work our way through before I want to work my way in. What about a dollar bill? Is there a problem of a dollar bill? Of owning a dollar bill. So you have the heter of the Shulchan Aruch. It's not a problem because it's not biletus. It's not sticking up. And it's not the complete body. And you have the Chachmas Adam that people don't worship it. So the chayra, a dollar bill is fine. What about a quarter? Is it okay to own a quarter? Because a quarter is biletus. It sticks up a little bit. So the chayra, that's not so pashut. But l'maisa, it's fine because you have the heter that it's a side profile, and you have the heter that it's not a complete person, and you have the Chachmas Adam on top of it that people don't worship people. What about a snowman? So a snowman's a little bit more complicated because a snowman, it's by lettuce, it sticks up. A snowman is a full image. It's a full image, it's by lettuce. A snowman is the full body. A snowman is not a side view. And all you have is the Chachmas Adam, which I said is not so simple to rely on. So, it sounds pretty bad, a snowman. Now, L'maisa, the snowman's okay. The Poskim are makel for two reasons. First of all, most of the time, a snowman is not a complete image of a person. It's a glob, a circle on the bottom, a circle over here. But it's not a defined image of a person, so therefore it's not considered the image of a person. Second of all, snowmen tend to melt. Since it's something that by definition is temporary, it's not going to last, therefore we could be makel and say that that is okay. Fine. What about, do you guys have this problem? My wife is always putting her shaitels on my yarmulke head. No, I'm joking, that's a joke. Shaitel heads. Are shaitel heads okay? So, let's think about it. So, is it by lettuce? Is it sticking up? Yes. However, it's something, the shaitel head is something that, the shaitel head is something that's just the head. It's not a side profile, but it's just the head. So you have the heter that the Shulchan Aruch brings, and when you're just the head, it's okay, even though there was a machmer tavila bracha. And you have the chachmas adam that we don't serve people nowadays. So l'maisa, a shaitel head is fine. Now, if somebody wants to go and break off the nose of the shaitel head, the l'chayr will be mekayim hamachmer tavila bracha. L'chayr, it's a nice thing, but it's not necessary. What about going to a wax museum? Could somebody go to a wax museum? These things are geferlich. They're push the Issur, the people in the wax museum. So could you now? First of all, do not make a wax museum. That is not a good business for a nice yid to go to. But could you go to a wax museum? So Rav Sternbach says going to a wax museum in Eretz Yisrael that's made by Jews, that's a problem because you're supporting Oived Aveira. You're helping them do their Aveira. It's not as, some people talk about not going to, there's some people that are machmir not to go to the zoo because it's open on Shabbos and you're supporting Oivd Aveira. That's a shayla, but this is much worse. Because over here you're supporting, you're going to pay for the Issur that they made. For the Issur making these images, that's bidiyuk what you're paying for, that would be a problem. It's like the Sternbach, you cannot go. Now, how about what about in Chutz La'aretz? So in Chutz La'aretz, Sternbach says it's just a bad idea. In Eretz Yisrael, it's a problem. In Chutz La'aretz, it's a bad idea. The Revavos Ephraim, he says that going to a wax museum is a chilul Hashem. This was a chiddush to me, but now that I learned the sugya, it's starting to make sense. What about a trophy? Is it okay to make a trophy? So once again, when we say trophy, if it's a cup, Stanley Cup, World Cup, whatever, that's perfectly fine. But if this trophy is a complete image of a person, and I don't care if you don't see his toes if he's wearing sneakers. So if it's a complete image of a person, so you definitely cannot make it. That's for sure. Now, could you own it? So let's think about it. It actually seems pretty bad. Is it by lettuce? Yeah. Is it a complete image of a man? We're saying in this case, yes. What heter do you have? I mean, you seemingly, it's a full person, not a side view. What do you have? Sounds pretty geferlich, sounds pretty bad. And l'chayra, you should cut the nose off that and deface that trophy because it sounds pretty bad. Now, if the trophy has no facial images, it has no nose and eyes and whatever, then it's okay. But if it has facial images, l'chayra, it's a problem, and you would have to deface it. Camps, please buy the trophies with the cups. Those type of trophies. Do not buy the people trophies. It's really not pashut. Okay, now let's get to the most geschmack part of the sugya. What about dolls? Are you allowed to own dolls? Are you allowed to own teddy bears? So let's start with teddy bears. So the Shulchan Aruch actually says that that animals are okay. We paskin that there's no issue with animals, and the Shulchan Aruch paskins this way. So therefore, your teddy bear is fine, your Curious George is fine, your Hello Kitty is fine. And let's take it a little bit further. What about Elmo, Cookie Monster, Mr. Potato Head? Those are also fine, because those aren't people. Those are monsters and a potato. That should be no problem. Okay, so what about dolls? So a doll that's very undefined, doesn't have distinct features, doesn't have distinct fingers, doesn't have distinct, noses and ears sticking out. So the chayra, that would be okay. Like the Cabbage Patch dolls and all that type of stuff, that's probably okay because it's not really in the image of man. And your little menchies, that's also probably okay because those aren't in the image of man. They're not very defined. Now, what about a regular doll? So let's think about it for a second. A regular doll, it's 3D. It's full. It's a full image. It's Baletis. It's 3D. It's a full image. Sounds pretty bad. If you're going to make a doll, you certainly cannot get a doll made. It's be straight up Issur D'Oraisa to, according to everybody, to ask a doll to be made. Now, is there a chashad? Is there a chashad for somebody to own a doll? So we said there were two pshatim in chashad. There was the pshat of the Taz, that we don't want people to be chosheh that you serve this doll. Now, we said that there was a heter of the Chochmas Adam and the Chacham Tzvi, that they were mekel because nowadays people do not serve people or do not serve, images, unless the guy has his arms stretched out like Yashka. So, as I pointed out, I'm not so convinced this is true anymore. But maybe we still have that. And what was the shach's issue of chashad? That we're going to be choshesh that people are going to say that you made it, or that you had a guy make it for you, and therefore, meaning it's a chashad that you were over the Issur of making the image. That's why you can't own it. So I think there were some of the poskim of many years ago, who said that it's not an issue. You could have a doll because we're not going to have that chashad. Why are we not going to have the chashad? These are stock items. They're made in mass in factory. They make 10,000 units at a time. They didn't make it for you. Everybody knows they didn't make it for you. And in Mela, it's not a problem to own it. Now, the world's gotten more advanced. And I don't know how pashut that is anymore. Because nowadays, you could order your own personalized doll. You could pick out its hair color, you could pick out its eye color, you could pick out its skin color, and you could order a doll like that. So if you could order your own doll, and people can even make a doll that looks like themselves. So, or whatever you want. So therefore, I don't think it's so pashut that when you see the doll, we know that you didn't order it for yourself. I think it is possible that you ordered it for yourself, and therefore, I don't think that's so pashut to say anymore. And furthermore, where I get really nervous is one of those dolls that are made for the frum world. They made a tznius run to sell to the frum world. That's for sure made for Yidden. If that's for sure made for Yidden, so it's even harder to say that there isn't a chashash that you made it for yourself. So really, it's not so simple. Okay, so sounds pretty good, Farlach. Are you allowed to own a doll without defacing it, without cutting off the nose, ear, or whatever? It sounds pretty good, Farlach. L'maisa, Rav Elyashiv says you shouldn't own dolls. The Shevet Levi says you have to cut off the nose, or something similar. You have to cut something off. You have to deface it, because if not, it's this Issur of making an image of a person. The Chut Shani also says you have to break off part of the image. You have to break off a feature of it, because if not, you're over this Issur. And the Chut Shani is mekel that you could cut off an ear, even if the ear is covered by hair. That's good enough, because if not, it's a problem. That's what the Chut Shani says. Rav Moshe Sternbach quotes the Chazon Ish as saying, Yorei Shemayim should take off a nose or ear of the doll to avoid this Issur. Sounds pretty good, Farlach. I mean, it's not how I grew up. I don't know. Okay, so let's find out. So Rav Vadia, he has a heter. Now, I heard everybody quoting this heter, but I only found this actually said by Rabbi Vadia. And he says in Chavadas that he says that the Rambam said that you're not allowed to have the image of a person l'noi. The Marit is medayik from the Rambam that it's only a problem if it's kavua, which seems to mean like chashuv. If you have it as a chashuv a thing, it's a problem, but if it's not a chashuv a thing, it's okay. And the Rebbe Vadia therefore wants to say that a doll which is used b'derech b'zoyin, it's just thrown around, it's left on the floor, it's dumped in a toy box, that's okay. The Issur wouldn't apply. You don't use it in a chashuv way. You use it in a bezoyandik way. And since you use the doll in a bezoyandik way, it is really okay. Now, it seems that many rely on this heter of Rebbe Vadia and say, it's just a doll. It's not a problem. There's no chashad. It's just used b'derech bezoyin. Now, I would like to point out that if you want to rely on this heter of the Rebbe Vadia for a cheap doll, okay, I could hear it. I could definitely hear it. I definitely hear the svara of Rebbe Vadia. It happens to be most poskim are not working this way, but I hear the svara of Rebbe Vadia. But what about an expensive doll? What about an American Girl doll? A doll that costs over $100 for the doll. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, yes, over $100 for the doll. And that's before you get the accessories. So if you get one of these expensive dolls, you don't go and just dump it on the floor and leave it on the floor, and you don't just dump it on the bottom of a toy box. This is an expensive chashuv doll. You're not going to just leave it there on the bottom. You're going to use it. You're going to be careful with it. You're going to put it on the side in a special box, in a special place. That's not b'derech bezoyin. You don't just leave that around. Maybe after many years you leave it around. But for when you get it, you don't leave it as a bezoyin. You keep it in good top shape. For that, it's very difficult to say. Rebbe Vadia's heter of use it b'derech bezoyin. It sounds pretty bad. I don't know what to say. Why would that be allowed to have such a doll? Where's the heter? I guess we could say as a limud schus that you still have the chachmas adam. Now, I was wondering maybe, and I told you I didn't even like the chachmas adam so much nowadays because I'm not so sure it's so true that the chashad wouldn't apply because there's all sorts of oivid avodah zarah within our societies. And once you're talking once again about the idea, the chashad of you making it, you could have made it yourself. You could order your own personalized American Girl doll. It exists. So it's really, really not pashut. And especially if you get the Jewish edition of the American Girl doll, that scares me even more. I don't know. Maybe the tzad to be makel is like this. I'm going to throw a limit schus out there, but l'maisa, this is not what the poskim say, so it shouldn't be relied upon. This is not la halacha, this is the limit schus. Maybe we can rely on the chachmas adam nowadays, because l'maisa, the first time you heard this Issur, you can't have a doll, because, maybe that's today the first time you heard of this. There's a problem of owning a doll because it looks like you're going to serve it. Give me a break. Does it really look like you're going to serve it? Does anybody believe anybody here is serving a doll? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. That sounds like narishkeit. And maybe because it sounds like it's so far-fetched that anybody's really going to do that, maybe that gives us basis to rely on the chachmas adam that says that people don't serve it nowadays. Because once again, the chachmas adam, by the way, it's quite a chiddush what the chachmas adam says. Because he's saying there's no loy plug. Who said there's no loy plug? And even what he's saying is not pashut. But once again, there is indication from the Gemara that we don't say loy plug. Because once again, we make for Rabbi Gamliel, we said it doesn't apply. So if it doesn't apply for Rabbi Gamliel, so obviously it's not a loy plug. So there is indication, but still, Chachmas Adam is Chiddush. Maybe that's why we could rely on the Chachmas Adam. But I am going to point out, the Chachmas Adam doesn't let you make it. The Chachmas Adam only lets you own it. So therefore, the Chachmas Adam will not let you order a personalized American Girl doll, or a personalized any other doll for Build-A-Doll. I know there's Build-A-Beer, there's probably Build-A-Doll. The Chachmas Adam would not let you do that. And I would like to say furthermore, let's say you have the doll, let's say you have the Barbie, right? You have the Barbie doll, or the other doll, the American Girl doll, and it breaks, and you want to pop the arm back in or pop the head back in, you can't, because you're now making the doll. That would be a Issur deresa. And therefore, there's certainly a maila to go and cut off the eye, cut off the nose, cut off the ear to make it okay. Now, is it good enough to cut off the finger? So the truth is, cutting off the finger probably makes it like how we said the Shulchan Aruch is makel if it's not a full image. And whereas the Taz and Shach said, Taz brought the Chumros and the Shach said, Machmer Tavel Bracha. So it probably brings you to that point. So if you can't bring yourself to cut off the nose or the ear of the doll, you can be makel to cut off the finger, and that would be good enough. Now, fine, I think that's it. The question is, I was just wondering, why Lemaisa are people so makel with this? Including myself, by the way. I haven't been makel until this point, but I'm about to change things. Now, why have people been makel? So I think it's one of a couple of reasons. Either it's just amaratzis, they didn't know this halacha b'chlal, or it could be that the Chachmas Adam used to be much stronger than it is nowadays. Meaning, because it used to be 70, 80 years ago, you didn't have these Ovid Avodah Zarah living amongst us. And therefore, it's too far-flung, this idea of Ovid Avodah Zarah. But I think now it's not as far-flung. But, once it was here, it stuck. Or theory number 3, and it could be a combination, is the Svar Vadia used to be much stronger. Dolls, something that stays on the floor, that's something that's B'derech B'zoyin. I don't think from people were buying so many of American Girl dolls 50 years ago. The Maisa, the From world has gotten much wealthier over the years, and now the From world spends big money on American Girl dolls, which I think are a much bigger problem than the Shmata dolls, because the Shmata dolls, you at least have a Vadia Svar. But over here, these American Girl dolls, you don't have a Vadia Svar, Bepashtas. But I think it was, gradual. It used to be people only had the Shmata dolls, and therefore the American Girl dolls weren't a big shayla. Now, lots of people have money, and they buy fancy dolls, and therefore they didn't realize that it's an issue. That's my theories as to why it's come to this, but Lamaisa Tachlis, to conclude, having one of these dolls that is a chashuv doll is not pashid, and therefore I would advise to do something to make it pugum, to ruin it in some way. And once again, to go back to taking pictures, the mice of the minig is we do take pictures, we do own pictures, we do hang pictures on our wall. But those people that say, don't take a picture of me, as long as they're not like a Baal Gaiva, I'm saying, for real, there is something to that. It's reasonable, it's not ridiculous. And the Taz, says it in a very strong way that that's what the halacha should be. So therefore, there is basis for what, but the Minig Yisrael is to be makel. We do take pictures, and we do have pictures, and have a great week. Thank you for listening.